This is part 1 of lesson 37 on exponential functions. We're going to start by talking about something called the exponential property of equality. It's a pretty simple rule. If b is a positive number other than 1, so anything other than 1 as long as it's positive, then b to the x is equal to b to the y if and only if, it's not a typo, IFF is a symbol in math that means if and only if x equals y. We'll break this down. There's if and only if means that the statement goes both directions. We'll break it down in 2 different directions. First, we can say that if 2 equal powers have the same base, if 2 equal powers have the same base, that means the exponent must be equal. So by 2 equal powers, we mean b to the x and b to the y. If they're equal to each other, that means their exponents must be equal too. And that's what we're going to use from this lesson with the exponential property of equality. So a couple of quick examples here. Solving for x. Looking down here. If 2 to the x equals 2 to the 7th, we've got 2 powers that are equal to each other, and they have the same base. Well, that means their exponents must be equal. Well, that's super simple. That just means that the exponent x equals the exponent 7, so x must equal 7. Great. When we look at number 2, and we see 3 to the 2x plus 1 equals 81, you might say to yourself, wait, they don't have the same base. But you can rewrite it as 2 powers of the same base. Your job here is to recognize that 81 is the same thing as 3 to the 4th. So you can take 3 to the 2x plus 1 equals 81 and rewrite that as 3 to the 2x plus 1 equals 3 to the 4th. And that must mean that the exponents are equal to each other. 2x plus 1 must equal 4, which means x has to equal 3/2. That's the first part of the property of equality. The second part, the second way to say it, is something which we will come back to later in this unit. We're not going to talk about very much today. But it's the exact opposite direction. In the first half, we said if 2 powers are equal to each other, their exponents, just the plain old numbers, are equal to each other. We can go the other direction too. If any 2 numbers are equal to each other, you can call them numbers, values, exponent, or variables, anything. If any 2 values are equal to each other, you can exponentiate, and that's a fancy word. I'll show you what it means in a second. Exponentiate both sides, and they are still equal. In other words, you're starting from x to the equals y and turning those x and y's into exponents. That's why we call them exponentiating. We're making them into exponents. So if we start with any 2 things that are equal to each other, I'll just do the x equals y. What I can do is add a base to both sides. Let's say a base of 3, for example. And they still have to be equal to each other. If x equals y, then 3 to the x equals 3 to the y.